The film begins in the Mongolian desert, the largest desert in East Asia. A company arrives in the middle of this desert, hoping to extract oil. However, their information turns out to be incorrect, meaning there is no oil there. They decide to leave. A plane is sent to take them back. The pilot, Frank, is accompanied by his co-pilot. All the workers, carrying their belongings, board the plane and set off for their hometown, Beijing. However, a massive storm begins brewing during their journey. The pilot tells Frank that they should land the plane and take off again as soon as the storm subsides. However, Frank refuses, and they find themselves trapped in the storm. They try to contact the plane using radio, but they lose contact. Meanwhile, one of their engines fails, and Frank prepares for an emergency landing. But he can't see anything ahead. Just as their plane is about to descend, the tail of the plane hits a rock, and the tail door opens, causing one worker to fall out, killing him. The plane drags through the desert sand, and when it stops, 2 more workers have died inside. Now trapped in this dangerous desert, they check their food supply and discover they have enough food for a month. But then one of the men says, "I can walk out of this desert, because I've done trekking in many places." But the others explain to him that it's July, the hottest month in the desert, and he won't survive in this heat. They all explain that he doesn't even know the way. Therefore, he'll be wandering around in the desert. And the man understands this. That same night, while everyone is asleep, the weather turns bad due to a storm outside. One of the men, named John Davis, goes out to use the restroom. But his foot hits a rock, causing him to roll down in the sand and fall. He loses his way. When the workers wake up in the morning, they discover that one of their colleagues is missing. They search everywhere for him, but there's no trace of him. So the lady here goes to the pilot and asks him if anyone will come to rescue them. The pilot says that there's no way, which makes the girl a little sad because they've completely lost their way. So even if someone comes looking for them, they won't be able to find them, and now everyone's hopes are dashed that no one will come to pick them up. So 2 of them decide to leave on foot. But when they start carrying water with them, the pilot tells them that no one will take water from here. This leads to a fight between them over the water, which causes them to spill their water. But there's a man named Elliot here. He tells them that he has an idea that could save us all. "I've been observing this plane for days, hoping we can assemble its parts and build another plane." Because Elliot previously worked for a plane manufacturing company, everyone begins to feel hopeful. They agree to help him. But the pilot disagrees. He says it's impossible, and the next day, one of the men leaves. But the woman who was there starts following him to find him. But the pilot stops her and goes after the man himself. He reaches the cliff where their plane crashed, and there he finds the body of the man who fell from the plane. But he's not wearing his clothes, and there are some bullet casings lying around. Then they find the man who was about to leave. He says, "I came to retrieve my watch from this corpse, which he took from me, but he doesn't have it, which clearly means there's someone else here besides us." The 2 of them arrive at the place where their other companions are, and the pilot agrees to join them in building the plane. They begin building the plane. They don't work during the day because it's too hot, but instead work at night. But their troubles increase when sparks from welding fall on the oil they were storing to light the fire and fly the plane, causing a massive explosion. Although no one is killed in the blast, all their oil is wasted. Now they have just enough fuel left to take one flight and get out of here. They now work during the day instead of at night. But the day is extremely hot. Still, they don't give up and start working. Now that they have completed the plane, if they start rebuilding, they need to attach a wing. They have only one chance. If the wing falls off, they can't rebuild the plane because they don't have chains. They slowly lower the wing from the top. But suddenly, the chain holding the wing breaks. The wing slides toward the ground and hits the plane directly. Everyone is shocked to see this. One of their friends is already inside the plane, whose job it was to attach the wing to the board. When the wing falls, he comes out and says, "I've done the job." In fact, the wing lands exactly where it should have. Thus, the plane structure is complete. Now everyone hopes they can fly from here. Everyone celebrates, dances, and enjoys themselves. They are also preparing a runway by removing desert sand so the plane can take off. But things aren't easy. One day, a dangerous electric storm hits. Lightning strikes, and there's fuel inside the wings. So everyone runs away. Elliot doesn't go. He wants the plane to be safe. When it's about to be struck by lightning, Frank pulls him down, saving his life. If anything were to happen to Elliot, no one would be able to repair the plane. They now name their plane Phoenix. A phoenix is a creature from Egyptian mythology that is reborn from the desert. It's considered very powerful. But they still have a lot of work to do on their plane. Their water is slowly running out. One night, they see some tents in the distance. Some people are sleeping there. These people are actually smugglers who supply weapons through the desert. Frank suggests they should ask them for water. Elliot refuses. But Frank and some of his companions approach the smugglers. Frank and his friend hide behind a rock so they can attack if something goes wrong. They have guns. When they ask for water, a smuggler shoots one of their men. Frank and his friend immediately return fire and kill some of the smugglers. But one smuggler escapes wounded. Frank has the chance to kill him, but he doesn't shoot because he doesn't want to be a murderer. James looks at the watch of one of the dead smugglers. It belongs to his friend who died after falling from a plane. This means these are the same smugglers who came here before. Now, they take a wounded smuggler to their plane. Some suggest killing him, but Frank refuses. While everyone is debating, Elliot suddenly shoots the smuggler. This sparks an argument between Frank and Elliot. Elliot blames Frank. He says, "You were the pilot. We're stuck here because of you. One of our colleagues died because of you. I told you not to. Yet you went there." Hearing this, Frank becomes enraged. He punches Elliot hard. Elliot becomes angry because his ego is hurt. He says, "I won't build planes anymore. I've done all the work I had to do. I work here as much as 10 people, and you all just relax." Kelly comes to him and says, "We can't build this plane without you. We need you." Elliot says, "I'll only start if everyone requests me." Then everyone, even Frank, requests him. Frank says, "You're the boss here. Please finish this job." Elliot agrees. Then they all get back to work on the plane. One day, they see through binoculars that the smuggler who escaped has returned with his friends. But they don't move forward because they know these people now have their own weapons. The smugglers know that their water and food will soon run out, and when they're weakened, they'll attack. They start working even faster. Eventually, their work is completed. Just then, Frank finds a magazine containing models of various planes. It turns out that Elliot had built the plane model by looking at these toy models. He used to make small flying model planes, but had never built a large real plane. Hearing this, everyone gets angry, especially Ian. He puts a gun to Elliot's head and says, "You've been fooling us. This plane will never fly. You've never built a plane this big before." But Elliot says, "I'm sure this plane will fly. Yes, I used to make small remote-controlled planes, but they require more balance." Frank stops Ian. Just then, a storm arrives. When strong winds blow, the plane begins to gently lift into the air on its own. Everyone realizes that this plane can actually fly. The hope that had died in their hearts is revived. But it is a desert storm that completely covers the plane in sand. After the storm, everyone is left in despair. Frank says, "We built this with hard work and we will fly it out of here." Everyone together, they pull the plane out of the sand and drag it to a place where there is no sand. They start the plane. It starts but immediately stalls. They try several times, and finally, it takes off. The plane's engine roars. Hearing the sound, the smugglers, armed with weapons, rush toward them on horseback. Everyone climbs aboard and hangs onto the wings. The plane's design doesn't allow for seating inside. They've built a smaller plane from parts of a larger plane. The plane races down the runway, and the smugglers fire from behind. But no one is hit. As soon as the runway ends, the smugglers think they're finished. But the next moment, their Phoenix flies out of the ditch. Everyone erupts in joy. Months of hard work have finally paid off. In this way, these people escape death from a dangerous desert, where escape was impossible. Elliot's photo is published in a magazine, where it is written, "NASA's New Hope."